Boys and gals, don't touch that dial. Welcome to the show, all things movies, video games, and pop culture. Broadcast straight from the moon, it's the CraterCast! Welcome back to the CraterCast. Thanks for tuning in this week, you beautiful, beautiful people. Especially you with the lazy eye, we see you.
Oh yeah, don't look at it though. Don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
Don't make him self-conscious. Come on.
You're not even supposed to mention it.
Come on, man. He gets enough shit already.
I'm Omar Avila, your Lin Kuei palette swap ninja.
And I am your ruler of Outworld, Dennis Medellin.
I'm John Montevice, the Shinryu master.
He's the scorpion main that like 99% of the population of Mortal Kombat is.
Yeah.
I was hoping that one of you would be like, I'm, my name, and I am the Hadoken user.
No, that's when you jump off and you're like, and I'm gay. like iDubbbz.
The only difference between me and the other Shinryu players is I'm better than all of them.
Bold statement.
Bold claim, yeah. and he's a darker yellow, like a little bit too much mustard.
No, I'm what is it, macaroni?
Yeah,
macaroni yellow.
He's the macaroni color where you put too much cheese powder.
Yeah. Fight me, 1v1 me.
Man, well, I mean, if you guys haven't guessed already, today we are going to be talking about one of the most popular fighting games in, well, I guess video game history, and that is
Kombat! Dun, 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 dun.
Fight! Toasty! What other memes can we do for Mortal Kombat? Test your might.
Oh, memes? I don't know if there's any memes.
No, they're not memes.
You can do that Mortal Kombat 4 Jarek thing, like, I'm so gay!
Wait, toasties? I thought he said whoopsies.
He says both, doesn't he?
I thought he said toasty.
I thought it was toasty too. It's when he does.
No, I know it's toasty, but I don't think he actually says whoopsies. I think it's just toasties.
Whoopsies, daisies.
That's the Mandela effect.
Yeah, no, it's the Nintendo version. Whoopsies, because they had to censor that one too.
Toasties too graphic. We'll definitely get into the whole Nintendo and Sega shenanigans with this episode.
Definitely.
But man, Mortal Kombat. Oh, phew. I remember sneaking around actually, and I owned a copy of it, and I promised my parents that if they got me a copy of the game, I would play with the blood turned off, and every time they left home, I would just immediately switch that shit back to red the moment they left.
Wait! They actually knew about it? Like
they knew about it, yeah, because they always monitored my gaming.
Wow.
They wouldn't even let me play Turok with blood on.
Oh wow! Not even Turok, huh?
Nope.
Wow.
Jesus, dude. Like, cause well, at least with my parents, they didn't know. They just bought me a game to shut me the hell up, and that was it. They didn't give a fuck.
Same here. They just bought me. I want this game. Okay, here you go. Badass. And they never. I think actually my dad used to play with me with Mortal Kombat a couple times, and
wow,
and he thought it was fucking cool.
Son, this game is violent as fuck. You want to go another round?
Yeah.
Yes, Daddy, please, yes.
Yeah, he used to play Mortal Kombat with me and Killer Instinct with me. Actually, he bought me Killer Instinct when it first came out for the Super Nintendo.
I beat you, Dad. Fuck you, you're grounded.
And it took a lot of haggling to even convince them to let me play with green blood on.
What is this, Resident Evil? Jesus.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Resident Evil had a bunch of different blood palettes.
Yeah. Again, going back to Nintendo, the DS version on the remake of RE1, for some reason, it defaults to green blood. There's that one part of the game, I don't know if you played the classic RE, like the very first one for PlayStation?
If I did, it was a long time ago.
There's this one line where Barry's inspecting blood near the fireplace, and he goes, "Oh, what is this? Blood. Hope this is not Chris's blood." And I'm all like, yeah, I hope not either, because it's green. That would be bad.
Man, one of the funnest parts about Mortal Kombat for me has to be the original shock value that it had as a fighting game. You never saw anything like it when you had other fighting games that existed during that time, like Street Fighter and I think King of Fighters. Well, that's something we can discuss as well.
Uh-huh.
I agree. I definitely agree with you that technically Street Fighter is definitely the way better fighting game. But at the same time, that being said, and I know you guys agree with me, because Mortal Kombat has that charm to it.
Yeah, it was so surreal back in the day, you know, going to the arcades. There was one close to my middle school, and I used to go with my elder brother and my older brother, and they used to play fighting games with me, or they would be playing pool. They would just tell me to fuck off, because I was a younger brother, right? So, but it was so surreal seeing Street Fighter, which looked cartoony, anime, whatever. At the time, we didn't know what it was. And then going to Mortal Kombat with its digitized actors, something lifelike, and seeing this gore. Like, gore was not common in video games back then.
No, not at all. And it's just, yeah, like you said, it was just that grittiness, the grittiness of it, like, and the gore and the sexy ladies.
Even though there was only one.
Because of Mortal Kombat, the ESRB was created.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yep. Yeah, that's and I'll definitely go. We'll look at all that, all the history of the fun, the controversy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to unpack here for Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat did a lot, is what we're all trying to say.
Yeah. So this week we're going to be diving into the history of one of the most controversial fighting games, let alone video games of our generation. That's right, strap on in, test your might,
and get over here!
Welcome to part 1 of Mortal Kombat. In order to understand Mortal Kombat, we need to look a bit further back at the key players responsible for its creation, and that would be John Tobias and Ed Boon.
Oh yeah, the original players. Back in Midway.
Yep, when Midway existed.
Yeah. You know, I don't know why, when I was writing little bullet points for my notes, my mind immediately put mid-gay. I don't know why. I don't know why.
All goes back to gay with you, isn't it?
I know. Guys, I have something to say.
I feel like that's a Freudian slip for you.
my fingers are moving on their own.
But yeah, so we'll start with John Tobias, because he's kind of like the beginning of the story here. He was born in 1969 in Chicago, Illinois, and from an early age, he loved drawing. He found most of his inspiration from comic books. He developed his skills taking courses at the Art Institute of Chicago on weekends while he was attending high school. Did you guys used to draw as kids?
Yes, all the time.
Yep.
I actually went to art school as well, but for college, and that didn't pan out.
Yeah, like every other art student.
So another love that Tobias had was for Hong Kong martial arts and kung fu movies. Obviously something that would later become a strong driving force for his idea for Mortal Kombat. Movies like Enter the Dragon helped flesh out ideas for the world of Mortal Kombat. And apparently some people have indicated that he also drew inspiration from movies like Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
Tobias indicated that while he might have had some inspiration from this movie, ultimately it was just traditional martial arts that played a stronger role in creating his ideas. I used to love watching old school martial arts movies, and I think you guys did too. Dennis, I know you mentioned once you were a huge fan of classic Jackie Chan action films, right?
Jackie Chan, definitely, yeah.
I love Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan, to me, Jackie Chan, you know, just a little bit under Bruce Lee, one of the like greatest martial artists.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Then, yeah, I was a sucker for Bruce Lee movies, man. Way of the Dragon, Game of Death. Oh, man, so many good films that he was in.
Become water, my friend.
The famous line.
Yes, sir. It was also in Cowboy Bebop.
I think the cool part about Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan is that they both had, similarities with their movies, but at the same time, I feel like Jackie Chan had more of that kind of humor to his movies.
Yeah, they always had that little trope where it's like, I want no trouble,
I think later on, though, like, wasn't like his first movies, they were more serious, and then later on, that's when he started getting a little bit more comedic.
And he started getting roles like Rush Hour and all that.
Yeah. Well, that was much later on, though. Like, he used to make a ton of old school Hong Kong martial arts movies, like Drunken Fist. Like, I remember you showed me a clip of that. Remember when we were talking about choreography that you liked in the movie?
Yep. And he did a lot of his own stunts, too, and that's very commendable.
Mm-hmm. So around 1989, going back to Tobias, right out of college, he was hired by Midway, despite not knowing much about video game development or computer illustration, which at the time was very difficult to find schools that would teach this stuff. I think during that time, it was just like, video games were not as big as they were now.
No, definitely not. No, they were very, not taboo, but just... So it was meant for kids. It was seen as a kid's toy.
Yes, so it was very hard for him to find anything new, anything to help him develop his skills. So mostly everything that he did was self-taught, and Did you know that he actually, before he started working for Midway, though, I found a little bit of information afterwards. He used to do comics for the real Ghostbusters.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess
Oh.
Ghostbusters had a comic book back in the day, and he was one of the artists for the series.
That is so awesome. So his drawing paid off.
And you can see that too, I guess, like the whole idea, like when you look at Mortal Kombat and you think about comic books and Hong Kong martial arts movies, it's almost like a huge, gigantic mashup of all these ideas, and it's really cool to see that followed through all the way from what like his passions were until he eventually developed this with the group of people that he worked with. He did originally want to be a comic book artist, but the way video game graphics had been advancing at that time, he was more drawn to the idea of working on games.
He was like, hey, this is going to catch on soon.
Yeah, pretty much.
He was right.
At 19, Tobias was tasked to help work on Midway's newest game, which was Smash TV. Did you guys ever try that one?
Yeah, I love Smash TV. It's pretty fun.
Nah, I never tried that one.
It's a top-down over like shooter. It's based like that one Arnold movie. What was it called?
It was called The Running Man. It was,
There
and that was,
you go.
and that was written by Stephen King, which we talked about in another episode.
Yeah, that's basically what the Smash TV is based on. It's a game show, but about death, and it's pretty awesome. I recommend that movie.
The movie it's fun times just because of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The clone baby. He's got your eyes. Of course he's got my eyes. He's my clone.
So Smash TV was a top-down shooter.
Correct, yeah, and it was 2 players.
Yeah, and also it was, you know what, it's funny because the idea of the game, like you said, is based off of The Running Man, which is also kind of like a proto Fortnite if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, because it's based on a movie, right? So.
Oh, I guess I should say Battle Royale in general because Fortnite.
Okay, you actually, yeah. All right.
I had to clarify that. I can't say
yeah.
that, Fortnite took credit for Battle Royales.
They popularized it, I guess, is a better way of phrasing it.
They memed it.
I know you were a PUBG guy. Yeah, they memed it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm dabbing right now, guys.
Oh my god. I'm floss dancing right now, guys.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
I will turn this car around.
John's gonna spray us with water.
Stop
It's like squirting you, like.
Stop it now.
Yeah. Sorry.
But while Tobias was working on Smash TV, he thought that he wanted to work with. He liked the idea of the sprites in the game, but he realized that he wanted to create something bigger, and he wanted bigger sprites on the screen instead. Mm-hmm. He already had some ideas circulating, but he needed help to bring his vision to reality, and that's where we enter Ed Boon.
Ed Boon on Midway, right?
Yep. Ed Boon was also born in Chicago. He graduated from college with a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Sciences and Mathematics. He was hired by Midway, I think, after Tobias, if I recall. But he was busy working on pinball machines.
Yeah. Wasn't Midway best known for pinball and games like Joust, or was that Joust a little bit later?
No, Joust. I know they were definitely Joust was during that time, and I think Midway in general was currently focused more on arcade games than the console at that time. It was they were trying to make money off of getting those quarters from the kids.
The console market was huge at that time. They had Pac-Man, Galaga. That's where it was at.
Well, they did realize that that's where things were eventually going to start going, and that's why eventually they start kind of teetering away from the idea of just focusing on arcade machines. Mm-hmm. But Boon was working on pinball machines for 2 years into his career. He worked on approximately 20 of them.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I feel like
Wow.
he was not expecting that at all.
No.
I love those old school pinball machines, though.
Yeah, me
man.
too.
Yeah, they're still fun. You still see them from time to time if you go to I don't know, what kind of... Do you guys still have arcades over in the United States part of the moon?
Very, very, very no.
Well, we just got a new one. We just got a new one opened up where we live, so.
Yeah, on this side of the moon. But before that, arcades were kind of sparse. You would have to go out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are a dying thing in Amerifats.
Yeah.
But I wish it was like Japan. Japan has like kiosks and just stores filled with arcades.
Oh, the arcade scene is still booming in Japan.
Oh yeah, it never died.
What is it? They also have a lot of the what's it called, the little gachapons, and
I would have thrown all my money at it.
I bet you would.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me!
So while he was working as a programmer for the pinball machines, they actually tasked him to work on an upcoming football game, Super High Impact. And while he was working on this, Tobias had learned about Boon, who worked on the same floor as him, and he appreciated the work that he was doing, and he saw him creating on the Super High Impact game. They were using this technology that Midway kind of had access to, which was a digitization of human people, like actors.
Human people.
I was trying to word that a little bit better. Like,
what other kind of people are there?
I don't know.
Have you seen these dog animals?
You're such an ass. You know what I meant.
Yeah, I did. I just found it funny. I had to point it out. I was like, human people.
So Tobias had approached him and told him that he had an idea for a ninja-themed game, and Boon was immediately on board. But the only problem was they needed to get, obviously, Midway to sign off on it.
Yeah.
So Tobias rounded up a few of his friends, and they recorded some short video clips of them performing, Kung Fu Combat and things like that, just to create a pitch video to present to Midway. Have you guys seen any of this footage, by the way?
I have, yeah.
It is so awesome.
It's intriguing, how they used to do these kind of things to get into the media that we grown to love.
Yeah, it's you get like an appreciation for it.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like behind the scenes for movies and stuff. Seeing how things are done is just so fascinating. I don't know. It
is, and not to mention how like he was filming everything on like just a regular like Super 8 recording camera too. So it's like not even like a high definition camera that they had access potentially to. It's just because the game was, they didn't think it was going to become what it was going to become at that time.
Yeah.
But actually, and if you guys are listening in, if you want to look this up, you can actually search it. And I think Tobias has actually posted some of this footage on his Twitter in the past. You just might have to do some digging up. I think even on YouTube you can find all of this.
Yeah, that's true. He did leak it himself.
Well, I mean, I think at that point it doesn't really matter because Midway is completely defunct.
Oh, now they're NetherRealm Studios, so.
Yeah. So one of his friends, Daniel Pesina, so he's the actor that played Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile. He was one that suggests...
Reptile? Who?
This ain't Mortal Kombat 2. I thought we were talking about 1.
No. We are talking about 1. But he did play all
Reptile was
the
in
Lin
part
Kuei.
1?
No, he was.
Nani?
Wait, was he? He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he's a secret character.
I know he was a secret character. I'm just trying to remember now. Was it Smoke or Reptile? But
with you.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember if it was from Mortal Kombat 1 or 2 that he was a secret character.
Yeah, the first one.
He's like shuffling through his notes and stuff.
What did I miss? No. Yeah, he was a secret character in the first one, and the second one he finally became playable, and they changed his moveset completely.
Yeah, and which was, I mean, I think 2 was a whole different ball game after the success of part 1, but yeah. So going back to Daniel Pesina, the actor that played a lot of the characters in his game, he was the one that suggested to Tobias that instead of including Japanese ninjas in the game, to instead use Chinese ninjas, and that's where they came up with the idea for the Lin Kuei.
Yeah, the Shinrai Ryu.
The John
clan.
The John clan.
It's my clan.
You killed my yellow ninja friend. I'm going to kill you.
You killed my wife and son.
Oh yeah, right. That Scorpion story. Now I am a ghost from hell.
And now I'm a spooky skeleton.
Yeah. Too spooky. Spooks.
But their original pitch idea to Midway was met with complete rejection by the entire management team. So yeah, they were like, "Nah, the fuck you talking about, Tobias? The fuck did we hire you for?"
Yeah. What are you, gay?
Second time? No, I think there's 3 times already in this episode, Dennis.
Yeah, it's 3. It's the third one. I've counted.
It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
Right? It's showtime.
Some people think that Street Fighter 2 had influence in Tobias with his idea for his game. However, prior to Midway agreeing to allow him to develop it, Street Fighter 2 had not even released yet. However, in 1991, after Street Fighter 2 released, Midway saw how successful the game was and allowed his team to develop their own fighting game. This, of course, made the most amount of sense considering how large Tobias wanted the sprites to be, so he thought that this would work great for the game that he was looking to develop anyway.
Yeah.
The only issue is that he wanted his game to be different from Street Fighter 2 despite its success. He wanted to focus more on including violence and blood, and he wanted just a grittier game compared to Capcom's title. I talked to you a little bit about this actually, and you mentioned that you already knew the history of the first Mortal Kombat game. But you mentioned that Jean-Claude Van Damme was initially going to be involved in the game project that they were working on, right?
Yeah, he was supposed to be the main lead.
Yep.
The game was based around Jean-Claude Van Damme, and funny enough, Johnny Cage still looks like him from Bloodsport. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's got the tidy black whiteys, and so Johnny Cage is definitely Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah, the bicycle pants. He's based on that. Because Jean-Claude Van Damme told him to take a hike.
Yeah, he was not that interested in working on the game at all.
You think he regrets that?
I don't know if he does. And like, could you imagine if he actually, let's say like Jean-Claude said, yeah, let's do it. I think it would have been a different game though, because Midway was actually suggesting that to attach a well-known actor to this idea that Tobias was, excuse me, oh god, ugh, what was that?
The spaghetti.
Yeah, it was the spaghetti. Mom spaghetti. They suggested that it's better to get a well-known actor attached to their project so that it's easier to market, and of course they wanted to make money. They suggested tying it to the upcoming film that Jean-Claude was going to work on, which was Universal Soldier. Yeah, that's that part.
I'm trying to collect myself from the mom spaghetti bit. that made me laugh more than it's supposed to.
Man, but I do remember loving this movie as a kid. Did you guys watch Universal Soldier?
Oh yeah, watch Bloodsport, watch Universal Soldier, and my dad was there with me to watch the whole thing too.
Oh really?
Yeah, my dad was like one of those dads. He would expose me to a lot of like movies like this.
Sounds like a grade A American dad.
Yeah.
My dad let me watch it with him too.
Get out of here.
I mean, of course he explained it to me, like, oh, it's fiction, none of it's real and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Typical parent thing.
Yeah.
He killed your trip.
Yeah, I was like, that's so cool. I want to be in martial arts too and rip somebody's head off.
Yeah, it's probably good. It's probably for the best that our fathers would kind of help us distinguish that it's just not real.
Yeah.
So it seems that issues arose, and like you said, Van Damme dropped out of the project altogether. People were indicating that he just seemed to lack any interest in working on their game. And fun fact, people thought Johnny Cage was a parody of Van Damme, and I think you mentioned this too, Dennis, that he was created after him.
Not a parody, I would say. I think that was supposed to be Van Damme.
I thought so too, and doing a little bit of research, I think some of the actors that worked on the game, they indicated that they were actually trying to model him closer to a Marvel character, which was Iron Fist from the comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
that's funny. He looks nothing like him.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah, exactly. It looks more like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, I thought it was Jean-Claude Van Damme, but the moment that he said take a hike, they just try to tweak him a little bit.
They did do something, though, to poke fun of Van Damme, and that was, Johnny Cage's signature split move where he punches him in the balls.
And the dick, yeah.
In the fucking dick.
In the dick.
Well, now that you said Iron Fist, I guess that's why Johnny Cage has, like, the energy blast and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, why would a Hollywood actor do that?
No. That's some badass fucking martial arts teacher.
I know, like, what did he... What set did he learn that from?
Right. I want to learn that too.
You know what's hilarious? And you're gonna make so much fun of me, Dennis. But
why are you singling out me? Like,
I'm signaling. Well, I know that John will make fun of me, but I know you specifically because you're a big ass Street Fighter player.
Oh, okay.
But when I was looking at the sprites and stuff, and I was looking at Mortal Kombat sprites and then Street Fighter sprites, I saw the Hadoken sprite. Mm-hmm. And I just realized that in the beam, there are fists inside the beam.
Yeah, it's Ryu's fist or whoever's throwing it.
I didn't know that was in it this entire time.
Let's all laugh. Geez. We're laughing.
No, stop.
Hey, you guys hear this? Hey, get over here. It is not his fist and not Nelkin.
Put a laugh track to that.
No, I'm not going to add a laugh track to that. I'm the editor. I get to choose.
Did you know in the Sonic Booms, Guile's hair is actually in them too?
No way.
No, I'm just kidding about that.
I would have believed it too.
Yeah, now I'm yanking your balls.
My balls.
Your ballzilla.
So going back to their pitch idea for Mortal Kombat, now that Van Damme was no longer involved, Tobias had to try to figure out what to do, and he wanted to repitch his original idea to Midway. And this is actually the actor that played Scorpion and Johnny Cage, Daniel Pacina. He's the one that actually convinced Tobias to go back and try to repitch the original idea. And now they agreed to it. And that's when they started working on development right away. So he got a bunch of friends. Apparently, he knew a lot of people that were into martial arts and bodybuilding and stuff like that. He just knew these people.
It's crazy.
And it was so convenient. Like, they're like, what are we going to do for the actors? And they're like, hey, I got this.
I know some guys.
He goes to his gym and he just gets his like gym buddies to come and record some martial arts stuff.
That's hilarious. It's like, wow.
But it's awesome. Like, it's so cool hearing this stuff. It's like, oh my god, you don't hear this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he also got a few, I think there was, one person, or one or two that they had to hire actors for. One of them being the girl that played Sonya Blade.
Yeah. The one and only girl character in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which apparently she was taken out of, I think, was it Mortal Kombat 2? Because they found out that in the arcades, Kano and Sonya Blade were the two least picked characters. So they just removed them altogether in the second game.
Yeah, they just have them in chains in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come out in the courtyard, I think that's what it was, or Shotgun's Throne. I forgot the name of the stage, but it's because, I mean, Kano, I like his design, I like his concept. I just hated his moveset. He had a lot of Zangief motions where you had to do 360s and whatnot.
Oh, you had to do like the spinning balls?
Yeah, the cannonball and then the knife throw. Super cumbersome. So why do that when you can just pick Scorpion and press back B? Or back low punch.
Back B and uppercut!
Yeah. Free hit.
And then, of course, Sonya Blade, what girl's playing a violent game like Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah.
No boy wants to be the girl character. Ew.
Except nowadays, you got all the neck beards. They're all like, ugh.
Yeah.
I want to be waifu.
Oh, yeah. Where's my Cassie Cage?
I never tried any of the newer game. Well, actually, only Mortal Kombat 9, I think. I didn't try 10 or
You played
11?
the last good one.
9 was the last. Oh, you tried the other ones afterwards?
Yeah, I have them.
We all have them.
Except me.
Nerd.
Okay.
Mechanically, I say MK9 was the last good one.
They all feel kind of funny when you if you think about competitive fighting games. But realistically, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, it really wasn't so much the mechanics of Mortal Kombat that you play it for. It's mostly for the
violence,
shock value,
yeah.
and did you say the waifus?
The violence.
Wow.
But yes,
That
the
too.
waifus.
I don't know what I'm hearing.
Give me some of that Melina
Yeah.
Poon.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
No, just kidding. Sindel's my waifu.
You like the MILFs.
I want her to step on my balls
And scream your flesh off.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Instant climax.
You die a happy man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so once they got all the actors for his friends and some of the actors to come on board, they started recording all sorts of attacks and animations. And apparently the conditions were super janky where they were recording. Like, even the people that, like his friends, they described it in an interview as like a junk closet. Rich DeVizio, I think he was the actor that played Kano. He's the one that kind of hinted at that. Liz Malecki, she's the actress that played Sonya Blade.
Oh really? I would have never guessed.
You mean to tell me that you don't know Liz Malecki's IMDb profile and movies and her
Again, he's yanking your balls.
Isn't that like, I think she only has like 3 credits on IMDb.
I've never looked up any of her stuff, and I don't even know if she's been in anything else after Mortal Kombat.
I could be wrong, but I remember looking back on it like months and months ago, and there was one that only had Mortal Kombat and maybe like a commercial and something else, and that was it. That sounds about right.
But you know what? She wasn't really primarily an actor, and I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna say it was actor, not actress, right? I don't think we're calling actresses anymore in this day and age.
Really? Is that a thing?
She was under the impression that the people running Midway Actually, no, I don't even remember where we were. Liz Malecki, fuck.
Yeah, because I gave you shit because you mentioned the only female name, and that's why I was like, oh, really? She played Sonya? Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I thought honestly you were trying to joke around more the fact that, you know, she's not a well-known name anyway.
No. I was joking the fact because it's the only female name.
They only had 7 characters. Let's cut them some slack.
Yeah.
She was indicating that she thought the recording area looked more like it was like a hallway. I guess they were filming in like the most shanty like setting possible.
Whatever they could afford.
And you could even see it in the recording videos. It looks like just like a little dingy gray hallway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not Hollywood. It's a video game company. Shit.
But at the same time, I mean, look at video games now. But we didn't expect things. I don't think anyone expected games to blow up the way they did.
Yeah.
But she was under the impression that the people running Midway at the time expected the project to fail, so that's why they weren't kind of like providing them better areas to work on.
Yeah, I mean, John's right. It is in Hollywood. Back then, it was just nerds and their IBMs.
Yeah.
Sitting in the basement. Mom, I'm making my game.
Not before you drink your Milkies!
You guys are gonna go. Mom wants me to drink the Milkies.
I gotta stop developing this game, guys. Sorry. Wait, they didn't even have like AML back then. They didn't have like
I know. We make it sound like they have TeamSpeak or something. Right? Like,
yeah,
guys, I gotta go.
We are so fucking like spoiled now.
Yeah. Our time zone, like our time frames for different technologies, all over the place.
I think this would fit perfectly right now, but we can literally say it was a different time. And the other actor, Daniel Pesina, he indicated that they didn't even have mats at first to fall on or even do flips when they were like recording the knockdowns.
Yeah. That's crazy though. Then did they record that later or
no? They at first they were trying to like record the knockdown animations and stuff, but I guess they realized that this is probably not the safest thing to do. So afterwards they managed to get like mats after.
Guys, I don't know about you, but now I have scoliosis. What's going on?
Should have just brought somebody's mattress or something from home. Put it on the
I
dance
would have
floor.
been surprised if they ended up trying to do something like that at some point, but like they did. I think in the later videos you do see they had like, you know, those gym mats.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember in elementary school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gym had like those mats that were like Velcroed to the walls.
Oh yeah. I would always run at him.
Yeah, me too.
I would run at him and do like a shoulder charge.
Yeah.
Pretend I was Shao Kahn. You will never win.
Could you imagine working in those conditions though? Like just like no one really expecting your project to succeed, not giving you any like anything to work with. Like
it sounds like the underdog story in Hollywood or something.
It really was, and he's really lucky that he knew people that were cool with just coming in, and I guarantee they probably got paid peanuts for the recordings.
Probably it was a different time, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, despite all this, Tobias was hard at work recording all his actors. He was creating the characters for the game, the story, the levels, even without having a name for the game yet. Did you guys know what they were actually planning on calling the game?
I remember
at first
seeing some, but I don't recall right now. But yeah, they had a few.
So they had a few, yeah. One of them was Ultimate Kumite. I guess I don't know what like ultimate come in my tea. Come in my tea.
Kumite.
The other one was Dragon Attack.
There you go. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Which I guess that's probably they still wanted to keep that whole dragon aspect with the logo.
Yeah. We like the dragons. Especially the bad ones, am I right, John?
This is going to become like an ongoing joke for the entire podcast, isn't it?
What the fuck? We're running to a theme here. I'm going to edit the video sign, put bad dragons everywhere. Fuck it.
They eventually did fall on the idea of Mortal Kombat with the C. However, they couldn't attain the copyright for the name since it sounds like it was taken at that time.
Was it?
Yeah, the name was...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
Oh.
No, you...
I was going to say, I thought... I thought someone came, I don't remember who, maybe Pesina, he was like, put a K. That was it. That was it. It was that simple.
It wasn't Pesina, it was one of the... I forget the guy's name and I should have written this down, but I think it was the guy that was working on the sounds of the game.
Daniel Fornance.
Yes,
Dan Fornance.
Don't crucify us if this is wrong, guys, but I haven't double checked this, but I think it was him, if I recall. Yeah. And they had it, the name, like they had the little whiteboard with like the different ideas and names and stuff. And eventually, like that name Mortal Kombat was sitting there, and one of the guys was just like, "Hey, let's drop the C and just change it to a K in order to keep the name and still be able to copyright it."
Keys are cooler.
That was it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, it was that simple. Yeah. Yeah, his name was Dan Fornance. I'm remembering now. He's also the Toasties guy. So.
Yep. Yeah. And I think he still works on all the games. Yep. He's been with NetherRealm the entire time.
Yeah, he never... There's this one clip where the devs are introducing themselves. It was one of the later games. I don't remember which one. But he's like, "Hi, I'm Ed Boon, blah, blah, blah. I'm Daniel Pesina, blah, blah, blah." Or Carlos Pesina, right? Sorry, I don't know why I keep calling him Daniel.
There's two of them. I think the brother...
The Pesina brothers.
Yeah, the Pesina brothers. Carlos, I think, was the one that played Liu Kang.
Oh, and Daniel was the one that played Raiden and stuff?
Oh, sorry, no, my bad. Yeah, you're right. Raiden was Carlos, and then Daniel was Johnny Cage and the Scorpions.
The Scorpions. There was Blue Scorpion, Green Scorpion.
I mean, yeah, why not?
My favorite was always Green Scorpion.
Yes.
I like Gray Scorpion.
You like Gray Scorpion? The one that needs to kick the habit, or else he's going to get lung cancer?
Yeah, sorry. So you were saying that...
the video. When you get to Dan Fornance, he goes, "I'm Dan Fornance. I'm the sound editor and also Toasties." And then like Ed Boon just immediately cracks up. I don't know why that video always puts a smile on my face.
Like because they look like they were having fun making this game.
Yeah,
they have a lot of camaraderie together.
Yeah, they're all like bros and stuff, and it seems like it was such a cool time to just make this game, and with the limited technology that they had too, is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about this development too is that the Midway wasn't really kind of hanging over their heads while they were developing it, so they were just coming up with everything on the spot. Like everything was being developed during the recordings. They even like talked about like what kind of weapons their characters are going to have, the catchphrases, the fatalities, and et cetera, et cetera. Like all this stuff like was just being thought on while they were recording.
Yeah, as it was happening, that's when more ideas were starting to get fleshed out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And how we were mentioning how it just seemed like it was such a cool kind of like they were just having such a fun time making them. When I was reading the interviews from the actors, they all kind of sounded like they were having a blast working on this game. They loved the ideas that Tobias was creating, and and while they were doing that, Boon was in the background working on the captured footage that they did get and started programming everything into the game, like the movesets, the attacks, just the way the physics work. So everything was just being developed all at the same time.
Yeah, he was also a little bit of the sound editor because he is the voice of Scorpion.
Yes, yeah. He was the "get over here."
Yep, that's Ed Boon himself.
Mm-hmm.
Became a very iconic phrase, and every kid in the 90s was saying that.
Oh yeah.
It was so iconic that even the Guinness World Book of Records gave them an award for being the most consistently used catchphrase from like the start of a game series all the way till current time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even in the new Mortal Kombat, the DLC character, they put Arnold Schwarzenegger, or not Arnold Schwarzenegger, they put the Terminator. And during one of his special moves, he goes, "Get over here."
No way.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not really Arnold, though. It's a sound and like a voice impersonator.
It would have been so cool if they could have gotten Arnold, but I feel like
I think
they never do.
I think he was too busy with dumpster fires.
Yep.
Should we eventually do a Terminator series, episode series? I feel like that would be fun.
You just love to get my dick hard, don't you?
Well, it's like to get your dick hard at first and then just turn into a big floppy mess after when we get to the newer movies.
So look what you did, clean it up.
Oh, man. Going back to the Scorpions, how you're like, oh, I like Blue Scorpion. I like Green Scorpion. That was one of the things they did. In order to save time, they just palette swapped the colors for the ninjas. So
it saved on RAM or data.
Well, it saved also on having to do a lot of stuff, but they did still record unique attacks for each of the characters regardless. Mm-hmm. So that's why, remember when I showed you that, I sent you an image of Scorpion doing the Sub-Zero move?
Yeah, the ice ball. I was like, what is sorcery is this? What's going on?
It was pretty awesome. But yeah, Tobias was actually the one that came up with the idea of making them brothers fighting over who would run their clan. And the actors seem to love his ideas on the spot. They're like, Jesus, man, like this guy's just coming up with ideas that sound like things like that you would see, like hear in a movie or a TV show.
Yeah.
Initially, though, Tobias did say, like, he literally said to the actors when they were recording, they're like, yeah, just change their colors and call it a day. And it was one of the Piscinas, I think it was Carlos or Daniel, that was like, come on, man, don't be fucking lazy. Record actual moves for all of them. Could you imagine that?
Right? But I recall reading something about it was storage limitations, too. That's why they did it. I could be wrong.
It might have... It could have been also a part of that, but I know that he did like the idea of having multiple characters that had, like the ninja characters that had different colors. They just didn't want to like get another actor to come in to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Or also they didn't want to get costume changes. Like they didn't create multiple costumes to record. They just had the yellow costume. I think they did have a Sub-Zero blue colored costume, unless that was an image that I saw that was already palette swapped at that time.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, it probably was.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the "Get Over Here," Scorpion's famous catchphrase.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that first comes to my mind when I actually think of Mortal Kombat is that line, is the "Get over here."
Yeah. That and the violence.
Well, that and the violence, but like as like, you know, famous catchphrases, like I always think of Scorpion's.
Are you sure it's that one? It's not Raiden's. Such an iconic line.
Oh, somebody left the stove on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that when he did his bison move.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Psycho Crusher.
Yeah.
You know, the get over here phrase actually was Rich DeVizio, the actor that played Kano. That was his idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he loved it. He was actually telling Tobias, he's like, he wanted to think of a character that can use a lasso as a weapon, and it wasn't like a hook at first. He just thought like, you know, oh, someone ropes someone and then pulls them over to you and then you do an
Wonder
attack.
Woman style?
Yeah, Wonder Woman style, exactly. And that's why they didn't like that idea, because Piscina was like, he said it was too similar to Wonder Woman. So it was Rich again. He's like, all right, so then why don't we change it to a spear instead that stabs into the other player? Which I think fits Mortal Kombat a lot better than, you know, a little rope.
It perfectly fits the blood motif.
Yes.
Thing going on. Yeah, and it's funny too because Ed Boon was he has stated that he's a fan of free hits, so that's why there's so many characters like Scorpion's spear move, where as soon as you get hit with it, you're dazed and it gives you a free uppercut. The ice ball gives you a free uppercut. You know, like he was.
Excuse me, it's a kunai.
Kunai with chain.
Oh God, get out of here, Joey. But Yugi. I'm from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Rage.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I don't know any of his catchphrases.
I'm the side character.
Who was it you said that liked the free hits?
Ed Boon himself.
He liked the idea of free hits, but he didn't like. And actually, we'll go into this because this is actually where fatalities come in. They're not what. Okay, so more. When I said that, you know, Street Fighter wasn't really what inspired Tobias in the first place, it's not to say that they didn't get ideas from Street Fighter.
They got the idea of making a lot of money from Street Fighter.
They did. They're like, man, this thing's printing money right now in like, arcades.
Let me dip my fingers in there. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
that was Midway right there.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard not to make comparisons to you know, some of the stuff that is in Mortal Kombat when you look at Street Fighter. Like even if you look at some of the movesets of certain characters, you can see ideas that got carried over. Like when we were mentioning Raiden and his Psycho Crusher. Raiden. Is that how his name's pronounced?
It's supposed to be Raiden, but NetherRealm for some reason said Raiden. It just stuck ever
since.
Raiden.
Oh yeah,
because it's the god Raiden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why I always called him.
You're right, but
wrong at the same time.
Yeah, you're wrong at the same time because that's the way they coined it. So.
You could even compare Sub-Zero with his projectile attack. I mean, that looks like Ryu's Hadouken, but. Oh, yeah. His sorry, let me repeat that one. It looks like Ryu's Hadouken.
It's real.
I fucking hate you right now, man.
I mean, I could have said it.
No,
it
no,
was,
please don't.
Akuma's a Doken. It's Akuma, right?
No, it's Goki.
Akuma.
You're giving him an aneurysm.
Oh man. So you mentioned that Boon liked the idea of free hits. He just didn't like the idea of the stun mechanic that would happen with characters in Street Fighter, because he thought that when he liked the idea of like the game continuously being able to be played.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't like the idea of like someone being stunned, and in Street Fighter the stun lasts a while, doesn't it, if you don't attack them?
It depends if your opponent's not mashing buttons, because the faster you mash the buttons, the quicker you get out of it.
But would you say that it still lasted longer than, let's say, when you get speared by scorpions, get over here?
If you're playing against a casual player, there's a chance of you breaking out, but if you're playing like a actual person that knows what they're doing, yeah, you're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
They're not gonna give that up for free.
He liked the idea of the free hits, but he wanted to actually change this concept and bring it to the end of the match instead of just being in between the fighting. So that's where fatalities come in.
I don't understand. Why didn't he like Dizzy? Dizzy is like kind of rewarding the better player.
Because
but in his game, he's all like, oh, let's make anybody get dizzied free, like because you could spam ice balls and. That's free hits.
Yeah,
that's the same concept as being dizzy.
You can say that it's that, but at the same time, I think dizzy was like again. I could have sworn that lasted a long time if you just like have it happen, like, and it's like free combos at that point, right?
Oh well, Street Fighter wasn't really combo heavy, but you can maybe dish out like a quarter, maybe a little bit more if you know what you're doing.
You could do a throw and just fucking take out a shit ton of health.
That's true. Street Fighter's throws were OP as fuck.
Yep. That's what everybody did when you were dizzy. You just fucking throw them.
I do that. I do that too. Guilty. You got me. But I'm just trying to argue, like, it's kind of the same thing when you think about it. I can get you with a spear move and you're dizzied, so uppercut.
No, I can see what you mean, and you can definitely see the.
You're
the
full of crap,
Boon. I'm just basing it off an interview that I read.
Maybe because it has to deal with the violence again, like. What looks more violent? Just somebody being dizzy after a lot of hits, or somebody getting a spear run through them, and then them being dizzy from it, or getting frozen, like getting all turned into ice. What looks more violent, I guess.
All I'm saying is that Boone's full of crap with that.
I loved Sub-Zero's move, like the being able to freeze people and like you freeze them in like mid-air and everything. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But I guess for him, he thought the idea would be better if like at the end of a fight when the opponent's like all dazed out, that's where you can come in and do your
finishing
it wasn't going to
move.
be a fatality at first. It was actually they were just going to have the idea of the winner being able to just wail on the opponent at the end. Like, just, I guess, do whatever moves they want to do for
like a brutality.
I was going to say that. So, like, brutality, the concept was already there or before it was even there.
Yes. Before the brutalities even came out. And I don't even think brutality was a thing until, like, was it even in Mortal Kombat 2?
It was in Mortal Kombat 3.
And 3. So, like, the idea was there initially, and I think they just went back to it.
You know what's funny? I always thought brutalities look corny.
Oh yeah, it's like, dude, and you just see like bones flying all the time, dude, like the same bones.
Mortal Kombat trilogy, dude. Don't get me started on that one where they over exaggerated on the bones. You would see like 3 skulls. It's like, what the fuck?
5 ribs.
Yeah, 5
rib cages.
It's like Jesus Christ, Cabal's anatomy just doesn't make sense.
So they changed. They were gonna have a fatality move available in the story mode when you faced Shang Tsung, and that was just gonna be the thing at the end of the game. Like they were only gonna have it so that you can do a fatality just at that moment. But then they thought, okay, why don't we just incorporate that into the actual mechanic of the game, and that's where fatalities came from.
Yeah.
Ed Boon was the one that actually coined the phrase fatality. Someone was discussing the idea, like they're just like, somehow we got to finish this guy off. It's like something along those lines. Someone said,
just drops his trousers and starts beating him off. Finish him.
No!
Again with the game.
Oh, that's the 4th time, right? Oh, fuck. Guys, I have something to tell you.
It's okay. We love you either way.
You're Jewish?
It's 2020, man. Accept me for who I am.
But yeah, like immediately when someone said like the whole finish this guy off phrase or whatever. Oh god damn it, Dennis. I'm just reading what wasn't in the interview.
When somebody says beat this guy off, I mean finish him off. I mean, we gotta think of a new phrase for this, guys.
Yeah, this interview
It's kind of weird.
This interview he plucked from Pornhub.
No, he didn't.
I think you got it from
They
the
just
Mortal
thought it
Kombat
sounded
parody.
cool, and then huh?
I think you must have got this from the Mortal Kombat parody.
No, I swear I didn't look that up. Please don't look at my history. Delete. They just thought it sounded cool, and I'm not gonna repeat it now because you guys are fucking
We
10-year-old kids.
Soiled it. Soiled it.
And that's when someone shouted, "Finish him!" And they're like, "Yeah, that's." I think that was actually Ed Boon that came up with the phrase. So, yeah, that's where the idea of fatalities came. And as we know, they got progressively more gruesome as the series progressed.
Hell yeah!
They got more gruesome and much more lamer too at the process. It was a lot of hit and miss.
What was the lame part, if you don't mind me asking?
For Mortal Kombat 1? Just
I mean,
just
like,
the fatalities in general. Some were amazing, some were just like, what? That's it, really?
Like Liu Kang's fatality.
Yeah,
his,
Liu Kang, like
flip kick.
Yeah, dude, like his was the only one that was dubious to me because everyone has like some kind of dismemberment or beheading, and his was just a cartwheel and he uppercuts you. It was like no big deal. It's like what?
Yeah.
And your head explodes, right?
No, nothing.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nothing.
Yep.
The only time you can make it semi looking like cool looking is if you do it on the pit stage because it still meets the criteria of uppercutting, so they fall down to the pit.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the pit stage.
Oh, so good.
The first time that happened, I was like, no fucking way.
And anybody could do it too. It didn't take a genius to mash buttons and figure out because we didn't have the internet back then. We couldn't figure out the fatalities. We just had word of mouth and kids in the playground and whatnot.
Yeah.
That was one of the cool things about the game is that when it came out, it relied a lot on word of mouth and people that were playing the game in arcades. You always expected that these kids that were constantly there playing had the secrets written down and knew what to do to do these fatalities. And also, oh god, we'll get to the secrets at the end of this episode because I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because there's Mortal Kombat's famous for that.
Oh, secrets. Ever since Mortal Kombat 1. I don't think the very first Mortal Kombat 1, but I think Revision 2 is when they started adding secrets, and that was the Green Scorpion guy.
The Green Scorpion guy.
There was another rumor of Red Scorpion, but that one wasn't true.
Wasn't that till like wasn't that Ermac later on?
Yeah, but there's an error macro that gets abbreviated in the arcade cabinet diagnostics.
That's where it came from.
And it abbreviates to error macro, which is Ermac.
Oh,
and
shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's where the rumor came out of Red Scorpion.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There was also, what was it? Sean transformations?
Sean?
Yeah. I don't know why that one is still yet to be proven. Like, no one knows what the fuck that means.
Oh, so there was like a thing that was in the diagnostic of the arcade machine saying Sean transformation?
Yeah. There was one that says, I could be wrong, but there was one that says Kano transformations or Sean transformation. I know there's a Kano one, but there's a questionable one that says Sean and people think it's Shawn Michaels from WWF at the time. Because Midway also worked on the WWF game, which is also really good.
Maybe some like leaked code that kind of blended into the game or something?
Yeah, like leftover data or something.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool though. And look, exactly what you said. It's like you get this rumor of the Ermac or whatever and the Red Scorpion, and then what do? They actually make him into a character in a later game.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat, what was it, 3? Or Trilogy, I don't remember. I know Rain was teased in Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in the actual game.
Do you know why Rain
Yes, I know.
was put into the game? Tell them.
Because he's the Prince of Edenia, and he's purple, and his name's Rain, so... Prince!
Yep! He was a big fan of...
when the doves cry.
And his roundhouse kick was OP as shit.
Yeah. It was broken, dude.
Yeah. I used to love fucking with my brother like that. Just play roundhouse kicking him all throughout the screen. Stop it! Stop it!
You would throw that water balloon. You would gravitate them to the highest you can above you. Do the roundhouse kick. Get him with another water balloon, and you like inference.
Purple rain, purple rain.
When the casuals cry, beep 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 beep.
When the casuals cry.
Yeah, it was an infinite man, but they tried to sound Chinese saying it. You like inference?
Inference. Once they did come up with the idea of the fatalities, though, I just read that all the actors were having a fun time just trying to come up with like creative ways for their characters to like perform their finishing moves, and everyone was apparently trying to top each other's fatalities. Like, oh, he did this, well, I want to do this.
He rips his arm off. Oh yeah, well, mine rips off both your arms. Oh yeah, it was like kids in the school playground.
I literally wrote that in the script of the episode. I said, it makes me think of when we were kids. Like, it's so awesome.
Guys, I'm going to ask you a question. Be honest with me. When you were in school and you were drawing, because we all drew. We established that already. Did you ever draw your own fatalities?
Yes.
John?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
No, I did too. Okay. Just checking. Yeah, I did too. I used to do like beheadings and little stick figures and whatnot.
Yeah, that's when my teachers were like messaging my parents like, we've got some concerns.
Yeah, we were looking for his homework in his backpack, and we found this, and like people beheaded and lynched, and oh my god.
Lynched.
Jesus Christ, Dennis.
This is a different time.
Yeah, even back then it was a different time.
That caused controversy. Where'd they learn this? Where did they learn this? It was a video game, I swear. Throw Ed Boon under the bus.
We talked about actually the fatalities and stuff and like comparisons between other fighting games like way, way back. I just really want to talk about this part because whenever I think of Mortal Kombat, we obviously think of the gore, the violence, the fatalities, and we compare it to other fighting games like Street Fighter or Arc Sys games, and Mortal Kombat felt more of entertainment than strategy and like competitive fighting, right?
That is always something I tell my friends. Like, Mortal Kombat is one of those games where you play at a party.
Yeah.
Next to Guitar Hero and all these rock bands. And
oh, I miss Guitar Hero.
So do I.
The guitars cost so much now. I tried to see if I could buy one, and it's too expensive.
Don't they have a USB one?
Yeah, those ones are stupid expensive still too. They're like over $100. Like, it's hard to find something cheap now.
Holy shit! I still have a Guitar Hero 2 one, but
you better fucking keep it, man, or sell it and make lots of money.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Fun fact about this whole thing that we discussed about, like more the way Mortal Kombat is compared to other fighting games, but even Yoshinori Ono, he had a similar thought on Mortal Kombat, and he kind of threw a bit of shade in an interview saying that Street Fighter felt more about the process, whereas Mortal Kombat was more about the end result.
Yeah.
Because we all played it because we wanted to see the fatalities.
Yeah. We like the gore and the payoff.
They did, though, I think in Street Fighter 4, that's when they kind of got some influence with, like, Mortal Kombat having, like, very detailed storylines and stuff. I don't know if it was in Street Fighter 4 specifically, but they did take some influence from Mortal Kombat games in their game eventually. Not, like, the gore fatalities or anything like that, but...
Street Fighter 4 had more story. They had anime cutscenes and stuff like that, but that was about it. Everything else has always been just little small text boxes. It was just reminiscent to the old Street Fighter 2 days, but now anime. Street Fighter 5 is the first time where they ever went to a grand scale, where they made a giant story and it looked like a movie. And I do appreciate it, and I hope it continues, because I'm not those guys that say that corny line. I don't know if you guys have heard it, where they say like, "Oh, it's a fighting game. No one plays for the story."
I hear it all the time.
I hate that. I hate that. Like,
did I tell you once? I was like, Street Fighter has story, like a long time ago.
I don't remember. I think so. And
did you just see him ball his hand into a fist and start shaking it and like squeezing it, and, like blood dripping out from the side of his hands?
Yeah, dude. Let me tell you something. I can tell you everything that happens for Street Fighter 2 and Alpha and even 3. It does have story, but it's just not shoved into your face like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It's like like how Mortal Kombat used to be. You play the game, you get the ending, that was it. And then there was like one canon ending, which is Liu Kang's. And yeah. You get the little intro tidbits in the beginning when you don't put the coins in, where it says Scorpion joins the tournament because he wants to kill Sub-Zero.
But didn't they have little bits of story and lore in between fights as well? Or
Not Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, okay.
Or 2. Or 3.
It didn't, but I mean, they did develop storylines. Like, I don't know if it was like something that you had to find in like just by word of mouth at that point.
Mortal Kombat 4 had like stories like before you put the coins in to play. They would have like the character with like a brief bio and then like the story of like why he entered the tournament and stuff like that. Like
Mortal Kombat 1, finally, it released in October of 1992, and of course, no one's surprised, the thing was a ridiculous success. Midway was minting money from this game. Kids were going crazy at the arcades. This was even before it got ported over to consoles. Actually, it was Acclaim that won the rights to port the game.
Like it's some kind of fucking auction or what?
No, it says like Acclaim won rights to port the game over to console. I guess they were trying to look for a publisher.
I guess. Yeah.
And this is where things start to get a little bit funny. Nintendo had a strict no blood or gore policy at the time. So the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 1 had a ton of the game censored.
Oh, yeah.
They removed the blood and replaced it with this weird, funny puff of sweat, I think it looked like.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was sweat. I don't know what the hell it is. It looks like pieces of shit flying off the character.
Yeah.
It's like a brown skin. I don't know what it is.
It was weird. And I didn't know about this, obviously, as a kid back then. I just thought that that's how the game was. I remember my friend, he owned Mortal Kombat 1 on his Super Nintendo, and I didn't know that the original game was actually supposed to be gory because of that reason. The Genesis version, though, sold way better because they kept it how arcade version the arcade version was, with the gore intact.
Yes.
And it outsold the SNES version by 5-1.
Yeah, because you know why?
Oh, God, just say it already. Just
say
get it out of your system.
Because Sega does when Nintendo don't.
Say the line again.
Oh, God, every time.
Every time.
My insides just
Liquefy.
melt out. Like Ebola. Oh. So yeah, the Genesis port of the game was apparently the most faithful in terms of gameplay as well. So the code of the arcade was replicated almost identically. And even with with that on top of the lack of censorship, it's no wonder the game sold altogether better than the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, because that's what the kids wanted. It was the blood.
Yep.
It wasn't really the gameplay. It goes back to what we were saying about it being the payoff.
It's the entertainment.
Yeah, it's the entertainment value. I still remember the call, too.
Nintendo's like, well, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Well,
because Mortal Kombat 2 comes and it had all the violence again.
Yeah.
But Nintendo knew that they fucked up, but at the same time, they tried to use this against Genesis, and this is where other controversies surrounding the game started happening because of its violent nature. It started including, sorry, getting gas there.
Spaghetti.
Yep, mom spaghetti.
You know, guys,
that'll never not be funny.
I still remember the code too.
The what?
The Sega code to get the blood.
Oh, there was an actual code to turn on the blood?
Yeah. It didn't have the blood on the spot. You had to put a code.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and then when you successfully input the code, Scorpion says, "Get over here." So it's pretty funny.
So some of the other controversies did involve actual politicians going to court due to a moral panic and outrage that started spreading after its release. You mentioned this actually to me when we were getting ready to research the game, but this paved way, and I think it was you, John, that also mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. This paved way to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or as more people know it, the ESRB.
Yeah, a bunch of damn old men trying to tell us what we can and can't do.
Yep, in suits. You know what I like about it? It wasn't just Mortal Kombat. It was other games like Doom. Most notably, Night Trap and what was it? Lethal Enforcer. And they were saying like, oh, you know, these games are violent. Even though Sega had their own rating system, Nintendo tried to throw them under the bus because Nintendo was, you know, as much as I love Nintendo, they're kind of assholes when you watch the history of their legal battles and everything like that.
Well, it was not just that; it was the console wars back then too, right?
Yeah, they just wanted to get rid of him, and that was their rival.
Yeah, and so they were trying to use the fact that, Genesis was not only making things worse for the youth of America and the youth of,
Like they
I guess
give a
the
shit.
world. It's really because they were upset that they weren't making as much money as Genesis was on their version of the game.
And I remember there was one guy from the Senate who said something like, "Oh, this is child abuse in my judgment." It's like, fuck off, you old piece of shit.
Oh, shit, you old boomer.
Yeah. Oh, hey, easy there.
Baby nut.
No, stop it.
Fucking hate you guys right now. But yeah, it's like the parents would say, I hate it because the parents always blame someone else rather than lack of knowledge of knowing what they're purchasing their kids or what their kids are watching.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, your parents, they just got you a game. Oh, yours monitored you, so they were okay with it, right?
They just wanted to make sure that I wasn't seeing the blood, which again, the violence was still there. It's just the blood was removed, right? So
they were being
I don't know.
parents.
Yeah, they were being parents.
But you got these assholes who are all like, "Oh, my kids are playing violent games." You're the one that bought it for them, you dipshit.
And then they wonder why they shoot up a school.
Yeah.
But no, actually, no, that's
No, there's no correlation with that in video
exactly.
games.
I had to correct myself because I had to correct myself because obviously that is not. There's no correlation with that. They've done studies, and it's what the arguments that they used against Midway and the guys that produce Mortal Kombat. And by the way, they knew that this was going to happen.
The Columbine shooters, they were big fans of Doom.
Yeah.
I know they said that. Right? But I mean, again, that doesn't make it.
No, I know.
Doesn't make the kids are gonna fucking do horrible shit regardless if they play violent video games or watch violent movies. They will do that regardless. It's the parents, right?
Yeah, the parents not being there for them. Like if you notice some bad tendencies with your children, then do something about it. Hey, my son is he's lighting cats on fire. Is that normal? Come on.
Must be those damn video games.
Yeah, it must be that video game where you light up cats and that's the objective of the whole game.
Oh, I love that game.
It's called.
We'll do an episode of that game.
It's called Pussy Fire.
Yes, Pussy Fire. Are you talking about Pussy Fire 1 or Pussy Fire The Revenge?
The Revenge. That one's my favorite.
Yeah, that was a good one.
An odd happening where the sequel does better than the original.
I will say though, and John, you were saying that the whole ESRB thing. I think it was still a good idea that the ESRB did get formed because it does help parents in a way. Again,
not really. No one gives a shit about them.
I mean, it helps in some levels. No,
I
don't think so.
I think it does.
The kids are gonna get their hands on a violent video game one way or another.
I know.
Parents are still buying their kids Call of Duty and all that, so what does it matter?
Yeah.
It still gives some level of onus on the parent, and it protects the video game developer in a way. If some parent says like, "Oh, my kid started beating on his cat," I love how we're just going to cats for some reason.
I guess
pussy. I get it.
I guess legally it does help.
Yeah, it protects the game developers,
Yeah, I guess so. So, in other words, parents just fuck themselves over because now they don't have anything else to blame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all their cats are dead, too.
Yeah. Rest in peace, cats.
Good.
That was a bad movie anyway, right?
Yeah.
Cats?
Yeah, cats.
I never watched it. I want to see it because I want to see how bad it is, but at the same time, I'm scared.
I don't want to see it.
I
heard it
really,
flopped
really
and that's
bad.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of this whole thing between Nintendo and the politicians getting involved and everything, Sega actually went on to cancel the Spanish version of the game because of all the backlash.
Vete para acá!
Yeah.
Soy Scorpion. Could you imagine? That was such a shitty joke. I'm so sorry.
That's why I was laughing. I was like, you can't believe you said it.
I did it.
I'm
The madman.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, though, if a game like Mortal Kombat, let's say, it's hard to imagine how things would have been differently now, because obviously there's a lot more violent games than just Mortal Kombat that exist. But, do you think that if none of this happened, let's say no court orders, no ESRB being formed, it's hard to imagine that, how a game like that, what the differences would be in this day and age, considering that it's now it seems that more people are more offended by other things other than blood and gore?
I think that's an American thing too.
I think it's a world thing right now, no?
Think so?
Yeah, I don't know. In Canada, I think, well, I mean, with that, we're still America's little baby brother.
Yeah, you're American Light. What the fuck?
I'm keeping that in. I want to keep that in. Oh.
What the fuck was that?
I love the glitches. Okay, I didn't get a chance to say this, but I always picture those GIFs where like it's like a video and then it's like melts away, like
the corrupted GIFs, right?
Yeah.
What were we talking about? What was the last thing we were talking about?
Just the whole thing with like if a game like Mortal Kombat came out and let's say like ESRB never was created and like let's say like
oh yeah, right.
The controversies would probably be more like against like sexism and like there's lack of female or I guess female abuse.
That's what I was gonna say. Not female representation or anything like that, but I think America, maybe even you guys, America Light, aren't we a little backwards? Violence is okay, but sexual themes aren't. Sexual themes should be more okay since it's nature.
Hey man, I can't look at boobs. I want to get into heaven.
You can't post that on a Christian board.
Now let me go watch this guy get murdered horribly.
Yeah, it's like
on live leak.
It's like something that's supposed to be frowned upon. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch that.
I thought I'd mention that. I thought it was kind of, I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, that's kind of, I wonder how things would be. But one thing's for sure, Mortal Kombat, huge success, and this would lead to several sequels in the franchise. I remember playing Mortal Kombat 2 and then just being blown away at how violent that game was compared to the first game, obviously.
It was so much better.
Mortal Kombat 2 is probably the best game in the series, I think.
I would have to agree. I like Mortal Kombat 1's look. It looks grittier. It looks more... I don't know. I just like it. It's aesthetically pleasing to my eyes. Mortal Kombat 2 looks more cartoony-ish. I don't know, cartoon-esque compared to 1.
They did get better quality cameras for the sequel. Obviously, at that point, Midway's like, take whatever you want and make the sequel.
Yeah, give us more money. and in the first game it felt more Chinese, and that hints to their ideas of doing Chinese martial arts and Chinese ninjas and everything like that.
You could tell that the series started trailing a bit away from that as it progressed, especially 3. Mortal Kombat 3 was like, you had
it was more industrial.
Striker.
Oh, that was dumb. You got this.
Has he ever shown up in any other game?
Yeah, he came out in I think 9 actually.
Yeah. He was in 9.
It's like you got this Hell Spectre. You got this ninja that shoots ice balls. You got this banshee that screams your skin off, and then you got a cop. What the fuck were they thinking?
So now that we got to the end, kind of like how the development of Mortal Kombat 1 was, what was your favorite game in the series though? Like if you think back on like, I don't know how many games. I didn't play a lot of the games in the like mid series portion.
Special Forces, man, the best.
Special Forces. No, not Special Forces, no. Shaolin Monks was the greatest.
Oh, that was like they tried to make it like an RPG, right?
Yeah, it was like a 3D beat 'em up. Did it have RPG elements? I don't remember.
I never played it. It was like wasn't it side scrolling and you could play as like
no, it was 3D.
Liu Kang.
It was 3D.
Was it 3D?
Yeah, you would run around. Did you ever play Deception or Armageddon?
I played Armageddon. Actually, you know what? I liked Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Something about it. I think, you know what? I think it's because it had so many extras and goodies in it.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoyed it. And then, there was that 3D element where you ran around.
Yeah, I forgot what it was called. Oh, Conquest. Think Conquest, yeah. Think that, but 2 players and better graphics. More involved. Just a game all about that. It was really fun. It's really, really fun.
Oh, yeah.
You unlock Sub-Zero Scorpion. You could play as them instead of Liu Kang and Kung Lao. And I don't know if there was any more characters in that, John.
No, it's and what was cool is that they gave Scorpion and Sub-Zero their own fatalities too.
Yeah, they weren't just like costume changes for Kung Lao. And
but I mean, when the cutscenes happened, it was Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
Yeah, that's true. And but my personal favorite, again, part 1 looks the best visually, but I have a soft spot for Mortal Kombat 2. I know everything about that game, and my favorite character. Can you guess who?
Was it? Shao Kahn?
Come on,
he's not playable. He's not playable, but he would have been.
It's Shang Tsung.
Oh yeah, the main villain of the first movie. But I know all his transformations, everything. Like every time I ask my friends, like, "You want to play that game?" They're like, "No."
Except me, I'm always down to play that game.
Yeah, it's broken though. It's not a well balanced game, but it's it's just the idea of playing it and just fucking having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love scissoring Dennis in that game with my sword.
I bet you love scissoring him.
Yeah, I just said it. I was fucking scissoring. Scissor me timbers.
He's like, I wasn't even trying to say anything else. I was literally meaning it.
I literally mean we scissor. What the fuck's it called?
Scissor me timbers.
Scissor me Xerxes.
What about you, John? What was your favorite Mortal Kombat?
No, I'm gonna have to agree. Also, Mortal Kombat 2.
What about you? I like 4.
I never played 4, but that's when they first jumped into 3D, and I heard that it had, like, wasn't that the game that had like was notorious for like their shitty cinematics?
Yeah, that's when I quoted as soon as this episode started. Jarek, when he falls down the cliff, he goes, "I'm so gay." Or at least what he sounds like he's saying.
I thought you were just talking out of your ass, to be honest.
No.
For
Black
me,
Dragon, live on, Sonya. I'm so gay.
For me, I definitely think 2 was the best in the series in terms of gameplay, but something about the Mortal Kombat trilogy, Ultimate Mortal Kombat trilogy on the Nintendo 64.
Gross.
I think that was the final game in the series before they started making their games in 3D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that one just because of the roster's so huge in that game.
It's even bigger on PlayStation.
What? Oh, was it?
Yeah, it has more of the boss characters. You can play as I think 64 was missing Kintaro and Motaro or Goro. John, do you remember?
Yeah, it was just all the boss characters.
Yeah, you didn't have any at all?
Nah, I think it was just all the regular characters.
Oh,
Did they try balancing out the boss characters in that game?
No,
I haven't played it, obviously.
Fucking no. I remember when I would lose against my brothers or something, I would transform to Shao Kahn, and it's just... That's the only thing you guys on 64 have over me. Every time Shang Tsung would transform, I would eat a loading screen.
Yeah.
Or loading time. But we also had Chameleon. The N64 had the female Chameleon.
Yeah. It was so cool seeing all those characters and like seeing all the ones from the original, all the way from, actually it was all the characters that had been created from the beginning of the game all up until that point.
Yeah, they even had secret ones, like if you hovered over Kano and you pressed the start or select button, I don't remember which one, it would transform him to MK1 Kano. And
they had the different alternate forms, I guess, like the originals and stuff. They had alternate costumes.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so satisfying, and also not to mention all the fatalities, and that game was just jam packed with everything.
Oh yeah, it was broken, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun because like you got to like play everything, and it had like I think it had multiple fatalities. That would probably be my favorite experience with Mortal Kombat.
Good choice, very fun. Oh man, Mortal Kombat. So many good fond memories going to the arcades or playing at home on the Super Nintendo with my brothers and then whooping my ass, and then I swore I would get better in fighting games, and here I am now. Fuck you!
I was literally the opposite of Dennis. I was the older brother whooping my younger brother's ass.
My brothers were beasts until I became the master.
Get out of here!
When I left you, I was the learner. Now I am the master. My brother was super cheap with Cabal and MK3, dude. That character was broken.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, when he just like ran past you and like, woo!
You would do a jump kick. You would do a jump. What was it? The combo. Send him flying in the air. Do the jump kick and then do the spin, and then do another combo. It's like, oh, there goes more than half my health.
My cheap character was Sector. I used to be cheaps with Sector.
You would just spam the homing missiles, wouldn't you?
The homing missiles, and then like when they would try to block, I would do the teleport, uppercut, and then do the chest missile, and then homing missile again, and teleport.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, no balance at all.
That's what I always liked about Street Fighter too. Street Fighter's more methodical. It's more calculated.
Mm-hmm.
MK, it's just for the sex on the eyes. It's like, oh man, look at all the blood. Oh my god.
Look at all the tits.
Yeah, my primitive nature showing. I just want to kill somebody.
Before we wrap up the episode, can we talk about some of the Easter eggs and secrets of the game?
Yeah,
or the games?
Yeah, you're free. Go ahead.
That's one of the coolest things about Mortal Kombat, and we mentioned it before, is that the fact that they had so many things hidden in the games, and usually when you hear rumors about these things at that time, since there was no internet or anything like that, it was all word of mouth, looking at game magazines to see if there's anything in there.
Mm-hmm. Tips and tricks.
No, I was gonna say something about tips and tricks. Actually, I owned a tips and tricks when Mortal Kombat 4 came out.
They were generally hard to discover, the secrets in Mortal Kombat, and if it wasn't for like those magazines and stuff and the tips and tricks, like you said, like it would be almost impossible, I think, to find that out.
Yeah, we had a convenience store where I live, and it used to be called something else. It's now something, and they used to sell magazines, and I remember people would just skim through the magazines, look for the codes, and then put it back. No one ever bought it.
Yep, I would do the exact same thing. I would bring a little booklet in my like coat pocket, and I would literally just quickly write down some of the cheat codes and then scamper out like a little shithead that I was.
Oh yeah, I remember my eldest brother, for Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I don't know where he did it. Maybe it was the library or somewhere. I don't recall where. That doesn't matter. He actually printed the entire strategy guide for Mortal Kombat Trilogy. with whatever library printer. It was in black and white. It wasn't in color, but it had all the moves, the combos, the fatalities, the secrets. It was amazing, and he used 2 clips, and it was thick, man. That boy thick.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love how the games all had hidden characters. It made you excited to try and like it felt like there was always something more to discover that was just not openly there in the game. And like you had like we mentioned Reptile in Mortal Kombat 1, you got Noob Saibot. Was Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat 3 or 2? 2, yeah. So you had him, which was obviously a play on the name Boon.
Tobias. Yeah, their name's backwards. Oh hey, look at us. We're like, did you know gaming?
Genius!
Did you know? Noob Saibot backwards is Boon Tobias. No, yeah, and I think you had to get 50 wins on Versus to fight against him, and he was just a faster Scorpion.
Yep.
and then there was Smoke, who was also on MK2. He would come out in the Living Forest in the background. You would see him peeping behind the tree. He was like, "Who's that? It's a gray Scorpion."
Gray Scorpion.
Yeah. And then you fought him. The way you would fight him, you would have to fight at the portal stage, and you would have to get a toasty Dan Fornus to pop up, and you get that by doing uppercuts. And whoever pressed down, I think, and start or select, I don't remember, down something, he would pop up. You would fight Smoke, and he was just a super fast, super cheap Scorpion.
Yep. That was a hard fight.
Yeah, you gotta exploit. And they had a lot more health too, or more defense, whatever you wanna, what side you lean on. Oh, there was also Jade.
Yep.
Jade was the first green katana.
I like palette swaps.
Yeah, I like this theme and palette swaps we're going at the arcade ladder of MK2, before you reach the question mark, you have to beat a whole round with only using light kicks. No blocking, nothing. Just like, and once you finish the round, she'll challenge you, and she's a faster katana, and you can't throw projectiles at her because it goes through her, and she's super cheap. And yeah.
Every time, huh?
Yeah, every time. Like, oh my god, I'm going to fight this new character. She's so amazing. Oh, it's just katana.
But I forget, we weren't able to like play as them until like the later games, right?
Yeah, Jade was playable in MK. I'm not sure if it was 3 or Ultimate 3. One of the two. I always mesh those games together.
Well, because yeah, Ultimate 3 was like their fix of what happened in 3, because that's when there. And I didn't mention this because I didn't want to get too much into the later games, but that was around the time when they were having issues with the actors and the Midway. They were trying to say like they wanted a little bit more money because Mortal Kombat was just making them so much money, and they only got paid.
They thought they were entitled. Yeah,
and it was actually Daniel Pacina that actually
Johnny Cage.
Yeah, he brought them to court, and he lost horribly.
And then they replaced Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat Ultimate 3.
They also replaced Sonya Blade's actor. And
fuck off.
John's like,
fuck off. Go away now.
What did they do? They just ended up hiring a hotter actress, and
oh yeah,
it's kind of sad because like they were friends with Tobias or whatever, and like things just kind of got soured because of that. I think Carlos Pacina was the only friend of his from the original games that stuck around, and I think he's still a part of NetherRealm, if I'm not mistaken.
Business, man. That's what happens sometimes.
Yeah, but yeah, you said Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat. The reason I mentioned that the whole the falling out of the previous actors was because in Mortal Kombat 3 they cut out Scorpion as well, right?
Yeah, the first Mortal Kombat 3, for some odd reason, they didn't include Scorpion. I don't know why Boon thought it was a good idea, seeing that that's his favorite character.
Well, they did that after the falling out that happened with the lawsuit and everything. Midway just was like, fuck these guys.
I see. But people are all like, we really like Scorpion. What the fuck are you doing? He's like, you know what? I love Scorpion too. Let's put him back.
But as the story goes, Midway later went bankrupt. Warner Brothers bought the rights to Mortal Kombat, and that's also where it led to the creation of NetherRealm Studios, and
where they continue to do Mortal Kombat and Injustice.
Yep, Injustice was that was also part of the Mortal Kombat universe, but they had to like neuter.
Yeah, they did a they did a crossover called Mortal Kombat versus DC, and that one was terrible. I didn't play it because it looked bad.
It was bad. I played it. Even Injustice, it was like a Mortal Kombat light, right?
The way it played, yeah, it was just Mortal Kombat superheroes, and
but was there fatalities still, or like...
No, there were super attacks.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
I know. In the just like as a side fun fact, obviously people have always wanted a mashup between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, but
that has always been the talk of the playground back in the day. Like,
yeah.
It'd be cool if Ryu did a Shoryuken and Scorpion's head flew off.
But Yoshinori Ono was like, yeah, it sounds cool on paper, but it's kind of hard to sell, Chun-Li getting her spine ripped out.
Yeah. You know how many neckbeards would cry?
Oh my god.
My waifu!
But yeah, well, that's part 1 of Mortal Kombat, guys. We went through it. I mean, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of the later games. I didn't go into too much detail because obviously they did have like the resurgence recently with like 9, 10, and 11 are considered really good games, but you said that you weren't a fan of the last few?
9 is the best one from the newer ones, like the way it plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, I don't know, combo oriented and just like the mechanics overall. Mortal Kombat XL, that one, no, it brought in the combat kitties that no one was a fan of. Yeah, no, the characters were boring, and they started doing an abundance of guest characters, and I love guest characters, but come on, man, you really gotta put Leatherface and I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and huh? Oh no, I was gonna say, and that's another sad thing too, is that just everything now with the newer games is just, you can tell that it's now all money oriented because everything is just hidden behind paywalls and DLC, and like it really lost a lot of that charm, I think, because of that.
Mm-hmm. And just Mortal Kombat 9 had more love. You can tell it had more love in development. Mm-hmm. Like let's wipe the slate clean. Let's redo Mortal Kombat's history, and I thought it was cool. It had nostalgic costumes, nostalgic fatalities. The combo system was there. And then here comes Mortal Kombat. Was it 11?
No, 10. 10.
No, 11's a new one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about the new one. It's so bland. The characters, the story was boring. The X-rays or what do they call fatal blows now? They get repetitive to see constantly. And this is someone that actually like goes to tournaments and plays games. This is coming from someone. So like Street Fighter, I don't mind seeing the super attacks because they're so small, like 5 seconds tops. These fatal blows, I can sit down, go grab a coffee, like go grab some coffee, come back, and it's like they're still not done. Yeah, it gets boring, dude. Like, I don't know. And Ed Boon, if you're listening to this, I know you're not, but if you are, make Mortal Kombat 9-2.
-2.
Yeah, like
what is this, fucking Kingdom Hearts?
This is Final Fantasy. I want that same love. I want to see the same. And there's one question I want to ask you, Boon. What the hell is that stance switching button for? I don't understand it.
Stance switching? Is that in the new games?
Yeah, ever since Mortal Kombat 9. You press a button and your character turns around. So, one moment they're showing you their ass, and then now they're showing you their crotch. It's like, what's the purpose of it?
I don't know. Maybe they had a mechanic for it.
I have my assumptions. I think they don't know how to program the character turning around naturally, and I think that's what it's there for. I could be wrong. I'm not a programmer. I could just be talking out of my ass. But that's my assumption. But what's that button for? I need to know, Boon. I need to know.
I guess we'll never know.
And also make your fighting games more like Street Fighter. Stop doing the dollar combo. I'm tired of dollar combo. How does that work competitively? Get rid of the block button.
Oh yeah, the block button. That's always been a staple.
Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of it. Hold back for block. Come on, man. Every other fighting game does it. Why you have to be unique?
That's why they're not an Evo.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Oh, the shade from John. And he's right. He's right. Instead, we got Mavel. Mavel 2.
Your
Are
favorite.
you so happy?
Yeah. You know what? I'll take Mavel 2 over Mortal Kombat 11.
It has its place. Mortal Kombat will always have its place in some shape or form, I think.
Yeah. Did you ever play the 3D ones? Deadly Alliance and stuff? Oh, yeah, you said you played Armageddon. That's right.
I only played Armageddon, and I liked it. I had fun with it.
I love Deadly Alliance.
Armageddon with its creative fatality.
Oh, yeah.
That I was not a fan of.
That's actually one of my earlier videos, like when I first ever made a YouTube back in the day. It was Vega from Street Fighter, and he's killing Motaro. Because you can create your own character too.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was kind of cool. Was being able to create your own character.
Yeah, it's funny because they have a lot of staples of DC characters. There's a cape that looks like Superman's. They got the leotard and the boots, so maybe it was already hinting that Mortal Kombat and DC was gonna become a thing.
They knew.
They knew, yeah. They knew they were gonna go bankrupt. Nah, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, regardless of what happened now, it's cool to see that it's still going on. You can see how strong the series has been from the beginning to the fact that they've even survived all these shitty games in the middle. Like, there was a lot of shit in the middle. And somehow they still managed to keep going. And, I mean, it's always going to be a part of fighting game history. And definitely holds a very warm spot in my nostalgic heart when I think about Mortal Kombat. So next week, we will be continuing the Mortal Kombat love, but now we're going to shift from the games to the movies, television, and I guess we can look at the comic books too. I didn't read the comics, but I'll try to see if I can find... Yeah, I'll try to see if I can find a little bit here and there, but mostly, primarily, I really want to talk about the movies with you guys, because, oh, shit.
Oh, the first movie's so good, and then the first movie just shits on my face.
What about the
The second
cartoon?
about
Oh,
the
yeah, like,
cartoon movie?
we'll
Or
talk...
the actual cartoon?
The
We'll
actual
talk
cartoon.
all about that. Save it, guys, save it!
I'm sorry. I'm about to bust.
We'll save that for next week. But yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Helix101_gaming. Just I like to tweet a lot. Dennis?
Same thing. Twitter, YouTube, Shinraku. I also like to tweet. I like to tweet the titties.
Oh.
Ever.
Yeah, you can find me, Seraphim Raziel. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.
All the shits.
Yeah, all of them. Except
all the
Snapchat.
social media.
Don't fucking wrap me up with Snapchat. I ain't doing that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
he actually exchanges nudes there.
that's his OnlyFans for Patreon.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
subscribe.
Yeah.
That's where I cosplay.
And
That's
then,
where I cosplay.
And then he also has on Twitch when he streams. He likes to paint his body cosplay.
Yeah.
His nude testicles.
Yeah.
You can also follow the show on Twitter at CraterStation. We need more followers. Please, for the love of God, if you're listening, follow us.
If you have any form of social media, we also have Facebook, which is facebook.com/CraterStation, all one word.
From the moon. This is CraterCast signing off.
See ya!
Fatality!
Oh!
Toasty!
You suck.
Reprendre votre thérapie, d'aller en partie. Votre fils a quand même